The 22nd Amendment creates a strict two-term limit on presidents, and it creates a limit on the vice president, which allows them to be elected for only one full term if they serve 2 years after the president dies or is impeached. Thomas E. Dewey proposed the 22nd Amendment in his 1944 campaign. However, it was not until a Republican-controlled 80th Congress approved the 22nd Amendment on March 24, 1947, and it began the process of ratification. On February 27, 1951, at least 3/4 of the states had ratified it. 41 did, except Oklahoma and Massachusetts, who rejected it. Within 7 years, it only took 1,439 days and adopted the amendment.
I'm George Washington. You probably remember me unless you live under a rock, but you might not know that I served 2 terms as the first president of the United States of America. But you might not know that I was asked by popular demand to serve an additional term. I declined, of course, because no person should be in power for more than 2 terms. I set this precedent that all future presidents would follow, even before the 22nd Amendment made it illegal for the president to serve more than 8 years in office.
Wrong, Mr. Washington. I, Franklin D. Roosevelt, served more than 2 terms. In fact, I was elected to serve 4 terms because Americans love me so much. But I only fully served 3 of them because I died in 1945, right after I was elected for my 4th term. I'm pretty much the reason why the 22nd Amendment was proposed. But I wasn't even the first president to seek a 3rd term in the White House. My distant cousin, Mr. Theodore Roosevelt, ran unsuccessfully as a third-party candidate in 1912 after declining to run in 1908. President Ulysses S. Grant also sought a 3rd term in 1980, but he lacked enough party support to get a nomination.
I, Thomas E. Dewey, ran as a Republican candidate in 1944 in the presidential elections, and after being governor of New York, I initially proposed the 22nd Amendment after I lost to FDR. I saw that he was not only elected to his 3rd term, but also a 4th one. That has directly opposed George Washington's views of a president. I believe that 4 terms or 16 years in office is the most dangerous threat to or freedom ever proposed.
I, Vice President Harry Truman, became president after Mr. Roosevelt, over there, died. I served the remainder of what would have been Franklin Roosevelt's 4th term. And then I was elected for a 2nd term. Since the 22nd Amendment was ratified while I was in office, I was exempt from the non-3rd term rule. However, I decided not to run a 3rd term because, to quote myself, whenever you have an efficient government, you have a dictatorship.
I am historian Gwen W. LaFantasy. I'm not really tied to the 22nd Amendment in any way. I just have some important information to share. Ever since 1985, when Ronald Reagan was elected for his 2nd term, there have been repeated attempts to repeal the 22nd Amendment.
1.
There have been many debates concerning the 22nd Amendment. Both sides present valid arguments. The affirmative maintain that the 2-term presidential limits restricts the powers of the president so that they don't abuse them. But the opposition claims that the more we change out persons, the more we have to reteach and redevelop existing procedures. There's an advantage in having members of the legislature who have experience. They firmly believe that if the citizens vote for the president to be reelected, then he deserves it. Popular sovereignty is a fail-safe way to eradicate dictatorship. Any president who abuses his power can be removed from office. Jose Serrano, in particular, feels that the 22nd Amendment is unnecessary. He has introduced a bill to Congress every 2 years since 1997 to repeal the amendment.